There's something about the clink of a glass bottle, the fizz of carbonation escaping, and the sweet first sip that instantly transports us back in time. For generations, America's shelves were filled with colorful sodas, quirky beverages, and experimental drinks that defined not just our taste buds, but whole eras of culture. Some of these drinks were born out of optimism, when soda fountains were the social hubs of small towns. Others emerged during times of change, when companies chased bold new flavors to capture the imagination of young people. But as the years rolled on, many of these drinks disappeared, quietly vanishing from shelves. Some were too strange for their time, some failed because they were ahead of the curve, and others were simply forgotten in the rush of new trends. Yet, for those who tasted them, or even just saw their commercials, these drinks live on in memory. In this countdown, we're revisiting 15 forgotten American drinks that disappeared from shelves. From sodas that defined childhood summers, to wild experiments that left people scratching their heads, each one tells a story about the America we once knew, an America where even a can of soda could spark excitement, comfort, or controversy. So sit back, crack open your favorite beverage, and join us as we take a journey through the fizz, flavors, and forgotten sips of America's past. Point 1. Crystal Pepsi. It looked like water, but it promised the taste of Pepsi. For a brief, shining moment in the early 90s, Crystal Pepsi had everyone talking. Launched in 1992, Crystal Pepsi was part of a trend toward clear products, clear soaps, clear beers, even clear laundry detergent. Pepsi wanted to ride that wave with a soda that symbolized purity and innovation. The drink debuted with massive hype, including a Super Bowl commercial set to Van Halen's Right Now. For a generation, it felt like the future of soda had arrived. Kids marveled at the idea of drinking Pepsi that looked like water, while adults weren't quite sure what to make of it. But the taste didn't quite match the promise. Without caramel coloring, it seemed lighter and somehow off. Within 2 years, Crystal Pepsi was gone. Today, it's remembered less as a success and more as a symbol of 90s optimism and failed experiments, a drink people still long to taste again, just one more time. And Crystal Pepsi wasn't the only bold gamble of the decade. Another forgotten soda tried to capture America's thirst for something new, by giving us caffeine with a twist. Point 2. Josta. Before Red Bull ever hit U.S. shelves, Pepsi gave America its very first taste of an energy drink. Its name was Josta. Released in 1995, Josta was PepsiCo's bold experiment in blending soda with exotic energy ingredients. Infused with guarana and packed with caffeine, it arrived during the rise of extreme sports, MTV culture, and a youth market hungry for edge and energy. With its wild black and red cans and slogans like "Better do the good stuff first," Josta didn't just sell a drink, it sold an attitude. For teenagers in the late 90s, it felt rebellious, foreign, and a little dangerous, all rolled into one can. But the drink was simply too far ahead of its time. Energy drinks were still an unknown category in America. By 1999, Josta was pulled from shelves, just a few short years before Red Bull and Monster made billions. To this day, fans still beg Pepsi to bring it back, claiming it was one of the best sodas they ever tasted. And while Josta was ahead of the curve, another forgotten drink was more of a spectacle, a soda that looked like it belonged in a science experiment. Point 3. Orbitz. It wasn't just a drink, it was an experience. Imagine sipping a soda filled with tiny floating beads that danced in your glass. That was Orbitz. Launched in 1997 by Clearly Canadian, Orbitz was a non-carbonated fruit-flavored drink that came in futuristic bottles. The liquid was thickened with gel-on gum, allowing small gelatinous balls to float perfectly suspended inside. Orbitz captured 90s fascination with the future. In an era obsessed with space travel, internet boom, and weird new textures, it promised a drink that looked and felt otherworldly. Kids begged parents to buy it just to watch the beads move around, even if the taste was forgettable. But the novelty wore off quickly. Many people found the texture strange, even unsettling. Within a year, Orbitz disappeared from shelves, becoming one of the most infamous failed drinks of the decade. Today, unopened bottles fetch high prices online, a strange relic of a time when even soda felt like science fiction. Orbitz was strange and futuristic, but the next drink wasn't about innovation at all. It was about changing something sacred, and the backlash would shake the biggest soda company in the world. Point 4. New Coke. When Coca-Cola dared to change its famous formula, it sparked one of the biggest consumer revolts in American history. In 1985, Coca-Cola reformulated its flagship drink to compete with Pepsi in blind taste tests. The result, known as New Coke, was sweeter, smoother, and, at least in the lab, supposed to win over younger drinkers. Coca-Cola poured millions into marketing, declaring New Coke the soda of the future. At first, sales ticked upward. But what executives didn't expect was the emotional connection Americans had to the original formula. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Protest groups formed, people hoarded old Coke, and letters poured into company headquarters. Within just 79 days, Coca-Cola caved, reintroducing the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic. Ironically, the fiasco only made people love the original Coke even more, turning one of the biggest business blunders into a marketing win. If New Coke proved that changing tradition was dangerous, the next forgotten drink showed that even bold new flavors can vanish just as quickly. Point 5. Pepsi Blue. It was bright, electric, and impossible to ignore. For a moment, Pepsi Blue felt like the soda of the early 2000s. Launched in 2002, Pepsi Blue was a berry-flavored cola designed to capture the flashy energy of the Y2K era. With its neon blue color and youth-focused ads featuring pop icons like Britney Spears, it was positioned as the cool alternative to regular cola. For teenagers of the early 2000s, Pepsi Blue became a statement drink. It stood out in vending machines, it tasted unique, and it felt tied to the pop culture of the moment. It was more than soda, it was a fashion accessory. But many found its taste oddly artificial, almost like cotton candy mixed with cough syrup. After just 2 years, Pepsi Blue quietly vanished from shelves in the US. Still, its cult following has never died. Fans today treat it like liquid nostalgia, with rare bottles sold online for hundreds of dollars. From bright blue fizz to bubblegum in a can, the next drink took kid-friendly flavors to the extreme. Point 6. Hubba Bubba Soda. What if your favorite chewing gum came in a can? In the 1980s, that wild idea actually hit store shelves. Capitalizing on the bubblegum craze, Hubba Bubba teamed up with a soda manufacturer to release a bubblegum-flavored soft drink. Packaged in bright, colorful cans, it promised to deliver the same sweet punch as the gum kids loved, just in liquid form. For children, Hubba Bubba soda was irresistible. It was candy and soda all rolled into one, and it made parents feel like they were treating their kids to something fun and playful. It became a novelty at corner stores and gas stations, a drink you'd grab just to try once. But adults weren't sold. The flavor was overwhelmingly sweet, almost syrupy, and too strange to sip casually. Within a short time, it disappeared from shelves, remembered only by those lucky, or unlucky, enough to try it. Today, it lives on as one of the strangest soda experiments of the 80s. While Hubba Bubba soda felt like pure childhood fun, the next drink became a status symbol, glassy, stylish, and distinctly 90s. Point 7. Clearly Canadian. Before LaCroix became trendy, there was a sparkling water that captured the imagination of the 90s, Clearly Canadian. Launched in the late 1980s, Clearly Canadian offered lightly flavored sparkling water in elegant glass bottles. Flavors like wild cherry, blackberry, and orchard peach felt refined compared to traditional sodas. For many, Clearly Canadian was more than a drink, it was a lifestyle accessory. It appeared in TV shows, college cafeterias, and office fridges, making it a symbol of sophistication in the soda aisle. Its sleek look made you feel just a little cooler carrying one around. But as bottled water exploded in popularity and big soda companies pushed their own alternatives, Clearly Canadian faded. By the mid-2000s, it was nearly impossible to find. Fans still recall it fondly as the drink that made flavored sparkling water chic before its time. And while Clearly Canadian offered light sophistication, the next drink was anything but subtle. It was loud, neon, and marketed as the ultimate fuel for adrenaline. Point 8. Surge. In the late 90s, if you were a kid chasing thrills, one soda stood above the rest, Surge. Introduced in 1997 by Coca-Cola, Surge was a citrus-flavored, highly caffeinated soda designed to take on Mountain Dew. Its marketing screamed extreme, with commercials featuring skateboards, stunts, and chaotic energy. For a generation of teens, Surge was the ultimate badge of cool. It was banned in some schools for its high caffeine, making it even more appealing. To kids, cracking open a can of Surge felt rebellious, a sugary jolt that fueled sleepovers, video games, and summer afternoons. But the hype didn't last. Parents worried about caffeine, sales dwindled, and by 2003, Surge disappeared. Its cult following remained so passionate, however, that Coca-Cola briefly brought it back in limited runs years later. For those who grew up with it, Surge is remembered as the drink that defined their youth. From the high-energy chaos of Surge, we move to something more refined, a fruit soda line that once rivaled the biggest names in the business. Point 9. Slice Soda. There was a time when Slice wasn't just a word, it was one of the biggest soda brands in America. Launched in 1984 by PepsiCo, Slice came in multiple fruit flavors: orange, lemon lime, grape, apple, and even peach. It was Pepsi's attempt to take on 7-Up and Sprite while adding a fruity twist. Slice became a household name in the 80s and 90s. Its commercials emphasized 10% real juice, making it seem like a healthier alternative to other sodas. For families, it was a refreshing change from plain colas, and its wide flavor variety made it a hit. But as competition from Sierra Mist and other fruit sodas grew, Slice lost its shine. By the late 2000s, it quietly vanished from shelves, leaving behind only commercials and memories of that bold, fruity fizz. While Slice faded slowly, our next drink enjoyed a long life, becoming a diet soda icon before fading away just a few years ago. Point 10. Tab. Long before Diet Coke, there was a pink can that defined America's love for diet soda, Tab. Introduced by Coca-Cola in 1963, Tab was one of the very first diet sodas. Marketed toward women, it promised taste without calories during a time when diet culture was booming. For decades, Tab was more than a drink, it was an identity. People who loved it swore by it, stocking fridges and pantries with the pink cans. It became a cultural symbol of the 70s and 80s, often spotted in movies and TV shows. Even as Diet Coke eclipsed it, Tab held on thanks to loyal fans. But in 2020, Coca-Cola finally discontinued it, citing low sales. For longtime drinkers, its disappearance felt like losing a trusted old friend, a bittersweet reminder that even beloved icons don't last forever. If Tab's story was one of longevity, the next forgotten soda shows what happens when a brand takes a gamble on the strangest marketing campaign in history. Point 11. OK Soda. What if a soda wasn't about taste, but about irony? In the 1990s, Coca-Cola tried exactly that, with the strange and short-lived OK Soda. Released in 1993, OK Soda was Coca-Cola's attempt to appeal to Generation X. The drink came in stark gray cans with comic book artwork and cryptic slogans like, "Don't be fooled into thinking there has to be a reason for everything." It was marketed less like a soda and more like a social experiment. Instead of sunny jingles, the ads leaned into sarcasm, irony, and rebellion. For teens and young adults of the 90s, it felt edgy, different, and oddly self-aware. The problem? The soda itself tasted bland, a mix of fruit and cola that didn't quite work. Within 2 years, OK Soda was gone, remembered not for its flavor but for its surreal, almost dystopian advertising campaign. To this day, unopened cans are collector's items, reminders of a time when soda companies tried to get philosophical. If OK Soda was strange and ironic, the next drink leaned into holiday cheer, but left a cinnamon aftertaste that America wasn't ready for. Point 12. Pepsi Holiday Spice. Imagine your favorite cola, but with a dash of Christmas spice. That was the gamble behind Pepsi Holiday Spice. Released in 2004 as a limited edition holiday flavor, Pepsi Holiday Spice promised the familiar cola taste with a hint of cinnamon and gingerbread warmth. The cans even came dressed in festive red packaging. For soda fans, it was a novelty worth trying. It captured the excitement of seasonal products, much like pumpkin spice lattes do today. Families bought it for holiday parties, hoping for a festive twist on a classic. But while some loved it, many found the flavor confusing. Cinnamon cola didn't quite fit American palates, and after 2 short seasons, it disappeared. Yet, fans still remember it fondly, with some calling it the most underrated Pepsi flavor ever made. While Pepsi Holiday Spice tried to warm hearts, the next drink blurred lines in a completely different way, mixing soda with coffee. Point 13. Coca-Cola Black. It came in an elegant glass bottle, promising sophistication, but inside was one of the strangest soda experiments of the 2000s, Coca-Cola Black. Launched in 2006, Coca-Cola Black was a fusion of cola and coffee, aimed at adults who wanted a more refined soft drink. Marketed as Coke with an espresso twist, it was bold, dark, and unlike anything on the market. It symbolized Coca-Cola's push to appeal to more mature audiences. With coffeehouse culture booming, the timing seemed perfect. The bottle's sleek design even gave it a premium feel, standing out on shelves. But the taste was polarizing. Sweet cola mixed with bitter coffee left many confused. Within 2 years, Coca-Cola Black was discontinued worldwide. Today, it's remembered as both ahead of its time and oddly mismatched, a soda that aimed for elegance but fizzled instead. If Coca-Cola Black felt too grown up, the next drink was the opposite, an early attempt to make soda a part of the morning routine. Point 14. Pepsi AM. Before energy drinks took over mornings, Pepsi tried to convince America to start the day with cola. The result? Pepsi AM. Introduced in 1989, Pepsi AM was marketed as a breakfast soda. With 28% more caffeine than regular Pepsi, it targeted coffee drinkers who might want something sweeter to wake them up. It was a bold experiment. Ads showed people cracking open a can at the breakfast table, suggesting cola could replace coffee or juice. For Pepsi, it was a way to expand soda consumption into the morning hours. But Americans weren't ready to swap orange juice for cola at 7 a.m. Pepsi AM struggled to find a market and disappeared within a year. Still, it stands as a fascinating what-if, an early glimpse at the energy drink trend that would explode a decade later. While Pepsi AM fizzled quickly, our next drink enjoyed decades of popularity, thanks to a flavor that became part of American pop culture. Point 15. Grape Nehi. Long before grape soda became a staple, one brand stood above the rest, Nehi. Founded in 1924, Nehi was famous for its brightly flavored sodas, with grape quickly becoming the most popular. By the 1930s and 40s, it was one of America's favorite soft drinks, even making an appearance in pop culture, like the TV show MASH*, where Radar O'Reilly often mentioned it. For small towns across America, Nehi was more than a drink, it was a staple of corner stores, diners, and soda fountains. Its sweet, purple fizz brought joy to kids and adults alike, especially in the South and Midwest. But as bigger brands like Fanta and Welch's grape soda grew, Nehi faded from the national spotlight. By the 2000s, it became increasingly rare, found only in select regions. Today, Grape Nehi survives in memory as a symbol of simpler times, an old-fashioned soda with a loyal following. From grape fizz to citrus punch, the next forgotten drink was Coke's own experiment with bold flavors, and it still sparks curiosity today. Point 16. Citra. Before Coke's Fanta Citrus, there was Citra, a forgotten soda with a sharp, tangy kick. Launched in 1996, Citra was Coca-Cola's attempt at a grapefruit-flavored soda, competing against Pepsi's Mountain Dew and Fresca. Packaged in bright yellow-green cans, it promised a refreshing citrus punch, different from anything else on shelves at the time. Citra developed a loyal following, especially among teens who wanted something bolder than lemon-lime sodas. It felt refreshing, zesty, and unique, carving out its own space in a crowded market. But in 2004, Coke rebranded Citra as Fanta Citrus, stripping it of its original identity. Fans argue it never tasted quite the same again. Today, Citra is remembered as one of those sodas that disappeared not because it failed, but because it was folded into something else, leaving fans nostalgic for its original flavor. While Citra was quietly rebranded, the next soda was louder, flashier, and remembered fondly in the South, a true regional classic. Point 17. Kick. In the South, there was once a soda so beloved that locals swore it could outshine the national brands. Its name was Kick. First released in the 1960s, Kick was a citrus-flavored soda produced by the Royal Crown Company. Marketed with the tagline "Get That Kick," it offered a stronger, more tangy flavor than its competitors. Kick became a regional favorite, especially in southern states where RC Cola already had a strong foothold. It was the kind of soda you'd find at corner stores, small diners, and vending machines, creating nostalgic memories for those who grew up with it. But Kick never expanded nationally, and by the 1980s it faded from most markets. For many, its disappearance symbolized the loss of small, regional sodas swallowed up by larger corporate brands. Today, it's remembered as one of those you-had-to-be-there drinks, a regional gem lost to time. From regional favorite to futuristic experiment, our next soda tried something bold: apple-flavored fizz in a glass bottle. Point 18, Aspen Soda. An apple a day may keep the doctor away, but in the late 70s, Pepsi tried turning it into a soda. The result was Aspen. Released in 1978, Aspen was a crisp, apple-flavored soda that stood apart from the orange and lemon lime drinks dominating the market. Its green glass bottles and snowy mountain imagery aimed to capture a fresh, outdoorsy vibe. Aspen had a distinct taste, light, refreshing, and surprisingly sophisticated for its time. For a few years, it developed a cult following among those who wanted something different from the usual cola offerings. But apple soda never caught on with mainstream America. By 1982, Aspen was discontinued. Still, many who tried it remember it fondly as one of the most refreshing and unique sodas Pepsi ever made, proof that sometimes, great ideas just arrive before the world is ready. If Aspen aimed for crisp refreshment, the next drink was indulgence in a can, berries, cream, and fizz that disappeared almost as quickly as it appeared. Point 19, Dr. Pepper Berries and Cream. In the mid-2000s, Dr. Pepper surprised fans with one of its boldest flavor twists ever: berries and cream. Released in 2006, this limited edition flavor added blackberry and raspberry notes to Dr. Pepper's 23 flavors, topped with a creamy finish. It was marketed with quirky ads that leaned into its unusual sweetness. For fans, berries and cream felt like a decadent treat. It was sweeter, smoother, and stood out among other limited edition sodas of the era. Teenagers especially embraced it as a fun, over-the-top alternative to traditional Dr. Pepper. But despite its cult following, sales didn't justify its place on shelves. By 2007, it was gone. Today, it's remembered with intense nostalgia, especially after a viral TikTok trend brought it back into the spotlight years later. Fans still beg for its return, calling it one of Dr. Pepper's best forgotten experiments. From sweet indulgence, we turn to something darker, a soda with a spooky twist that captured imaginations every Halloween. Point 20, Mountain Dew Pitch Black. It was bold, it was purple, and it became the soda of choice every Halloween: Mountain Dew Pitch Black. Launched in 2004 as a limited-time flavor, Pitch Black was a grape-flavored spin on Mountain Dew. Its dark color and eerie packaging made it perfect for October promotions. For fans of Mountain Dew, Pitch Black was a revelation. It combined the classic Dew energy with a unique grape twist. Its seasonal tie-in made it feel special, like a treat you had to grab before it disappeared. Despite huge initial success, Pitch Black faded after a few seasonal runs. Though it has returned in limited promotions, it never became a permanent flavor. Today, it's one of the most requested bring-back sodas, a reminder of the fun and flavor of mid-2000s Halloween nostalgia. From Halloween Grape Fizz, we move to a soda that shocked 7-Up fans when the brand suddenly turned spicy. Point 21, 7-Up Gold. 7-Up has always been known as the Uncola, but in the late 80s, it shocked fans with a spicy, golden twist. Released in 1988, 7-Up Gold was unlike anything the brand had ever made. Instead of the crisp lemon-lime taste, it had cinnamon and ginger notes, closer to a spice soda than the refreshing flavor people expected. For 7-Up, this was a bold attempt to expand its identity. The company hoped a spice soda would attract new drinkers and stand out in a crowded market. But loyal fans were confused. The drink clashed with everything people loved about 7-Up. Within a single year, 7-Up Gold was discontinued, quickly becoming one of the brand's most infamous failures. Today, it's remembered as proof that sometimes a brand can change too much and lose its soul. While 7-Up Gold failed to reinvent itself, the next drink never really left, though it quietly disappeared from most shelves after decades of popularity. Point 22. Yoo-hoo chocolate drink. It wasn't quite milk, it wasn't quite soda, but for decades, kids knew the joy of cracking open an ice-cold Yoo-hoo. Invented in the 1920s, Yoo-hoo became a household name by the mid-20th century. Marketed as a chocolate-flavored drink with a soda-like fizz, it stood out from both soft drinks and milk-based beverages. Yoo-hoo is beloved by kids and families. Endorsed by celebrities like Yogi Berra, it carried a wholesome image, often enjoyed at school lunches, baseball games, or after playing outside on summer days. While Yoo-hoo still exists in limited regions, it has vanished from most mainstream shelves. For many, its disappearance feels like losing a piece of childhood, one more reminder of the simple joys that don't quite fit into today's marketplace. And while Yoo-hoo faded slowly, the next drink had a wild name and an even wilder backstory, straight from the comic strips. Point 23. Kickapoo Joy Juice. With a name pulled straight from a cartoon, Kickapoo Joy Juice was one of the quirkiest sodas America ever loved. Launched in 1965 by Monarch Beverage, the drink was inspired by the Lil Abner comic strip, where Kickapoo Joy Juice was a fictional moonshine. The real soda was citrus-flavored, sweet, and heavily carbonated. In the South, Kickapoo became a cult favorite. Its goofy name and bold citrus punch made it stand out against mainstream sodas. It felt local, playful, and just a little rebellious. Over the years, it grew harder to find in the U.S., surviving mostly in overseas markets like Southeast Asia. For Americans who grew up with it, its disappearance feels like losing a hidden gem, one of those sodas you only knew if you were lucky enough to live in the right place at the right time. From quirky comic strip sodas to one of America's very first root beers, our next forgotten drink once dominated the shelves. Point 24. Hires Root Beer. It was one of America's very first root beers, and for over a century, Hires was a household name. Invented in 1876 by pharmacist Charles Hires, this root beer became the foundation for soda culture itself. It was sold in bottles, syrup form, and even homebrew kits, making it a staple of soda fountains across the country. For generations, Hires root beer wasn't just a drink, it was a tradition. Families mixed it at home, children sipped it on hot afternoons, and its taste became synonymous with Americana. But over time, bigger brands like A&W and Barq's took over. By the 2010s, Hires had all but disappeared, surviving only in a few scattered markets. Its loss marks the end of an era, the fading of a brand that helped create America's love affair with soda itself. And finally, we end with a soda that didn't just quench thirst, it fueled an entire subculture of late-night gaming and 90s nostalgia. Point 25. Balls Guarana. If you were a gamer in the late 90s, one soda became more than a drink, it was a badge of identity. That drink was Balls Guarana. Launched in 1997, Balls was a highly caffeinated soda infused with guarana. Sold in uniquely textured glass bottles, it quickly became popular at LAN parties, tech events, and among early computer gamers. It wasn't just about taste, it was about belonging. For those who stayed up all night gaming, coding, or hanging out with friends, Balls was fuel. The cool blue bottles and quirky branding gave it an underground cult status. But as bigger energy drink brands like Monster and Red Bull exploded, Balls couldn't keep up. Today, it survives in niche markets, but for many, it will always be remembered as the soda of early internet culture, a fizzy, caffeinated memory of a digital generation coming of age. And with that, we close our journey, 25 forgotten drinks, each a small but meaningful piece of America's past. From Crystal Pepsi's clear promise of the future, to the regional gems like Kick and Nehi, to cult favorites like Surge and Balls, each of these drinks tells us something about America's changing tastes. They remind us of a time when soda wasn't just a beverage, it was excitement in a bottle, a cultural experiment, and sometimes, a little piece of magic. Some vanished because they were too bold. Others faded slowly, overtaken by giants. And a few, like New Coke, live on more for the story than the flavor. But all of them share one thing, they left a mark. For those who remember sipping them, or even just seeing them on store shelves, they stir up nostalgia for summers at the gas station, lunch breaks at the diner, and childhood afternoons spent with a cold can in hand. America may move fast, but the taste of the past lingers. And sometimes, remembering these forgotten drinks brings us closer to the America we once knew, the world tapestry. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to subscribe for more forgotten foods, nostalgic products, and the cultural throwbacks that shaped our lives. Because here, history isn't just about big events, it's about the little things we tasted, touched, and loved along the way.